They've interviewed lawyers. They've interviewed everybody that they wanted to interview. People that I could have kept back by using presidential privilege. I could have kept back everybody. They didn't have to interview anybody. I gave them total, and then they say obstruction. These people are clowns. The Democrats are clowns. They're being laughed at all over the world.
Congressman, thanks so much for joining us. And I want to get to several other issues in just a moment. But first, on what we just heard, the upcoming testimony from the former Trump foreign policy advisor, George Papadopoulos. This will be Papadopoulos, his first interview with members of Congress. What should lawmakers press him on?
Well, they should press him on his meeting with Mifsud, what exactly Mifsud said. And also, he's been very squirrely about who he told within the Trump campaign about this contact by the Russians, about their willingness to give the campaign dirt on Hillary Clinton.
What's fascinating about this is, are we interested anymore about following the evidence, or has partisan blinders made us just, put us in our boxes here? The evidence here is pretty clear that the Mifsud interaction is not what the media's made it out to be. In other words, an offer of genuine Russian emails. Why? Because Papadopoulos himself has told us multiple times, and no evidence has been produced to refute this, Martha, that there was no offer of emails, that was simply a statement. However untoward it may have been about him having Russian emails, that's fine. But no offer, according to Papadopoulos, and no evidence has come up to the contrary.
Those are the most important issues. But look, this is someone who had a secret meeting with the Russians and lied about it to the federal investigators.
Just note at the outset that despite having your life turned upside down, there's no evidence to this day that you spied for Russia.
This is someone who had a secret meeting with the Russians and lied about it to the federal investigators.
Turns out special counsel Robert Mueller's team came to believe that Papadopoulos lied to the FBI about that contact, not because he had colluded with Russia, but because he wanted to try and cover up that meeting in hopes he could still land a big job with the Trump team.
What I think happened in 2016 and all the events surrounding the 2016 campaign and the spying that took place on me and Michael Flynn and others was tantamount to treason. What happened was there was an intelligence agency with an axe to grind against both candidate Trump and obviously President Trump, where we see the Russia hoax now evolving into Ukraine Gate. This is that Joseph Mifsud was also spying on Michael Flynn just 2 months before he started his encounters with me. So we're going to get to the bottom of exactly how both Michael Flynn and my fates have intertwined in this very bizarre story.
But look, this is someone who had a secret meeting with the Russians and lied about it to the federal investigators. Michael Flynn had his own conversations with the Russians and lied about them and was convicted of it.
Breaking news out of Washington, D.C. CBS News has confirmed that former National Security Advisor Michael Flynn will plead guilty to a perjury charge this morning.
We are told special counsel Robert Mueller has charged Flynn with making false statements to the FBI.
There's a pattern within the Trump campaign and the Trump transition. And I think the best that any of these members can do is try to find out about these contacts and sort out fact from fiction. But look, the reason he's brought in is not really for that purpose. He's being brought in so that they can selectively push out some crazy conspiracy theory.
Some crazy conspiracy theory. That's what they tried with Carter Page.
And there is significant evidence of collusion. There is ample evidence, and indeed there is, of collusion of people in the Trump campaign with the Russians. I think there's plenty of evidence of collusion or conspiracy.
Schiff was bluffing, which is to say, lying.
Then you have Adam Schiff. You did a great job sort of mentioning many of the lies. If I lied even a little bit in front of those guys, like Adam Schiff has lied to the American people and in front of Congress the other day, they'd throw me in jail for perjury.
As you know, Papadopoulos has been promoting these conspiracy theories to further President Trump's claim that the entire Mueller investigation is simply a witch hunt. What do you make of that?
Well, look, it's sad that even after these multiple convictions of multiple high-level people within Trump orbit, not only the president, but you have people amplifying his witch hunt comments on Fox.
The investigation did not establish that members of the Trump campaign conspired with the Russian government in its election interference activities.
Deeply destructive. These deep state theories we used to basically laugh at third world countries for having these crazy conspiracy theories. And yes, the issue of collusion with the Trump campaign. There is significant evidence, much of it in the public domain, on the issue of collusion.
Is it true the evidence gathered during your investigation did not establish that the president was involved in the underlying crime related to Russian election interference as stated in Volume 1, page 7?
We found insufficient evidence of the president's culpability.
So that would be a yes?
Pardon?
That would be a yes?
Yes.
Thank you.
The collusion delusion is over.
Adam Schiff is basically the Jussie Smollett of Congress on steroids.
These deep state theories, we used to basically laugh at third world countries for having these crazy conspiracy theories.
He gets up to the microphone. Remember, he used to say, well, I have personal proof that the president was very closely aligned with Russia. Russia. And I'm watching him, and even me, I'm starting to say, does he know something that I don't know? You know, gets up with his very, very narrow neck. You remember? Pencil neck. Dana, you would not be impressed with him physically. But he gets up, no dummy, but he's a crooked person. Smart guy, crooked as hell.
The Democrats do take the majority in the House of Representatives, and you emerge as the chairman of the House Intelligence Committee. Are you going to reopen this entire investigation? Because, as you know, the Republican majority, they shut it down.
Well, you know, they shut it down and they didn't shut it down. But the reality is, while the Republicans walked away from the investigation...
The
final report is out. It's more than 200 pages long. Here's the headline. Investigators found no evidence of collusion or coordination of any kind between the Russian government and the Donald Trump for President campaign. None.
I could have told you that 2.5 years ago very easily.
But we will be able to get answers the Republicans were unwilling to pursue. Records that the Republicans wouldn't ask for in the setup of the Trump Tower meeting. And sandwiched between these calls was a call from a blocked number. And we know the president used a blocked number during the campaign, so we asked for a subpoena of the phone records. But the Republicans said, no, we really don't want to know if the president was in the loop. And that call is a blocked number, and we wanted to get the phone records to determine, was Donald Trump talking to his son about this meeting? It's an obvious investigative step, but one the Republicans were unwilling to take because they were afraid of where the evidence might lead.
And sandwiched between those calls back and forth between Don Jr. and Amy Agalarov is a blocked call.
Was a call from a blocked number. And that call is a blocked number. And we know the president used a blocked number during the campaign. So
is a blocked call.
Blocked number. It could only be three things. The president, Vladimir Putin at the Kremlin, or his handler somewhere in Russia. Well, it turns out it wasn't any of those things. It turns out that Donald Trump Jr. was calling a business associate. Oops.
The new information solves one Mueller mystery and debunks a Democratic theory pushed by many, including the now chairman of the House Intelligence Committee, Adam Schiff.
But what Democrats have done is they've taken a couple of other things like this, the block number. There have been a few other things that they've kind of pointed to and said, there might be something here. This looks really suspicious to us. The risk for them is that ultimately there's nothing there, right?
There are phone records associated with that meeting that would identify potentially whether the president's son talked to the president about that meeting.
Before and after that meeting, there were calls between Donald Trump Jr. and a blocked number.
Tucker, let's be clear. There was never any evidence whatsoever that Don Jr. called his father after this meeting. None. What you just played with Adam Schiff, and I believe it was Swalwell, that was nothing more than a conspiracy theory. This was another one of those, Tucker, if true stories. You know, if true that Don Jr. called this, it was never true.
We used to basically laugh at third world countries for having these crazy conspiracy theories.
You had people, what was it, BuzzFeed today? Well, it doesn't really matter that Adam Schiff lied to us because he's pushing our agenda. He's pushing our narrative.
What did House Intelligence Committee Chairman Adam Schiff know about the now infamous whistleblower report that is fueling today's impeachment inquiry, and when did he know it?
First off, have you heard from the whistleblower? Do you want to hear from the whistleblower?
We have not spoken directly with the whistleblower. We would like to.
We learned today Schiff was tipped off about the complaint days before it was filed. President Trump charges that Schiff may have helped write it. Also tonight, President Trump is ramping up his attacks on Schiff, saying he may have committed treason.
Yes, we would love to talk directly with the whistleblower. The question, though, that I don't know whether Mueller has been able to answer, because I don't know whether he's been given the license to look into it, is were the Russians laundering money through the Trump organization? And that will be a very high priority to get an answer to, for the reason that if they were doing this, it's not only a crime, but it's something provable. Also looking at persistent allegations that the Russians have been laundering money through the Trump organization. I don't know that that's true.
Brad, okay to throw that out there if you're the chair of the House Intel and you say, I'm going to throw this out there, but I don't know if it's true.
Reeks of a political effort by the left to remove Trump from office as vengeance for him winning in 2016. These Democrats are obsessed with removing him from office. It's basically become the identity of their party. And I have to think at some point the constituents of these Democrats will demand something from them other than just resist Trump. It really doesn't seem like a great plan moving into 2020.
Well, look, I think they're going to be very dismayed at the Democrats who've been promising since day one. You listen to Adam Schiff, he said that there was actual evidence. There isn't not only no evidence, you don't have even a single witness. And for Adam Schiff to continue to throw out new allegations with no evidence, no witness, no smoking gun is the most irresponsible thing you can do when you're entrusted with that gavel there on the Intel Committee. He's a joke of a congressman. He is no way should be in that position. And I think the voters will ultimately take it out on the Democrats and take him out of power.
Oops.